Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Tuesday, March 3rd edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in downtown Lowell. It's election day in the Mill City, in Dracut, in Dunstable, in Pepperell, and in Tyngsboro, aka the 1st Middlesex State Senate District. So if you are watching this before 8 p.m. on Tuesday, March 3rd, please get out and vote in those communities. I promise you, you will not run into big, long lines. You will get in and out pretty quickly based on the morning turnout. But we're going to talk about that election, and we're going to talk about some really interesting things happening in the city of Lowell politically as well. And to do that, who better to do it with than our dare I say, our newest political pundit here at Inside Lowell, Erin Gendron.
Yes, you dare.
Lowell resident, former Lowell City Council candidate, who knows, maybe future candidate of some sort. I keep pushing you to get into a race somewhere, Erin, but I'm glad that you are here with us this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Great to have you here. You're also going to be a part of our election coverage tonight, coming back when we start to report the results, analyzing them, talking about what they all mean. But let's get your take on that stuff and a few other things as well. Before we get into it, though, let's first thank my Daily Pulse sponsor, Ray Booten. He is a licensed realtor in Massey, New Hampshire. He is a certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, get in touch with Ray today. Good news is you can find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. By the way, you'll also be able to find him on tomorrow, Wednesday's edition of the Daily Pulse. He'll be here. We'll talk about the real estate market in general, and then we'll drag Ray into politics because he loves real estate and he loves politics. I want to also thank our friends at WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint Studios. It's the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thanks, WellPoint. Thanks, Ray. The rest of our sponsors are scrolling across your screen there. We'll give them a verbal shout out in a little bit. But let's get right to it. Erin Gendron, you live in Lowell where you can actually vote. Have you voted today?
I am going to vote at lunchtime.
All right. Yeah. So you're going to be you're going to get out in there before the snow and ice and whatever is coming our way comes, right?
Yes. Yep.
All right. You probably will not run into long lines from what we are hearing this morning.
My husband voted this morning, and it was like right around drop off. So there was long lines, but not for him to vote.
Long lines to get into. And you guys vote at the Riley School, which is probably going to be the highest turnout locale. The second highest in Lowell is generally the Daily School. As of 9 a.m., our friend Ryan Faria told me 35 people had voted, which again,
higher than primary.
A bad number, but as you said, well, that's more than on primary day. So unless they ran the mail-in ballots bright and early this morning, then at least there's something to look at there. But I have to tell you, whatever those turnout numbers are, and they were bad, 4.7% in Lowell on February 3rd, the primary. I'm not even sure Dracut and Tyngsboro got to that. Pepperell, I think, did okay. Dunstable. But there's certainly, at the very least, there is a lot less buzz today than there was on February 3rd. On February 3rd, there was activity. You had two heavyweight Lowell State reps, well-known, Rodney Elliott, Vanna Howard, and everybody wanted to see how is this battle going to turn out. I don't see that buzz. Am I just missing it? Am I, kind of in a little shelter out there in Chelmsford and I don't see it all? You're in the thick of it. Are you seeing a buzz?
So Rep. Vanna Howard's campaign was out full force yesterday. I saw them in my neighborhood, putting out the kind of like reminder to vote tomorrow. So I think, but for the last month, like kind of, they've had fundraisers and different events, but I don't think it's been the same, like active, just regular everyday seeing the same buzz as what we did, with.
If social media is an indication, you are 100% correct. And I remember right after Christmas, New Year, right up to February 3rd, they were constantly, Vanna Howard's Facebook page, we're knocking doors. Our volunteers are knocking doors. They're in Dunstable. They're in Tyngsboro. They're everywhere. Rodney Elliott, the same thing. And they went to all of the events that you mentioned. I'm not seeing that this time. Or is Facebook's algorithm blocking it so I can't see it? I
still think you see him at events, though. I feel like Joe has been at a lot of events. and his Facebook is kind of very active about different things that he's been going to. But also, he didn't really get to, not that he didn't get to campaign, he did, but I think that the kickoff for his campaigner activity was more in the last month.
Right, yeah.
So
he
for
didn't
him,
really
I think
get
he's
rolling
been
until
really,
after February
yeah.
3rd, yeah.
Because he was already on the ballot, so it was kind of, I think we've seen a little bit more from him. Yeah.
Joe being Joe Espinola, the unenrolled candidate. What about Sam Meas? He was able to get above that 300 write-in threshold that we weren't sure he was going to be able to get to on February 3rd. Now he's on the ballot. He's got an R next to his name. Not that that is any great advantage running against a Democrat, but he's there. He's on the ballot. Did he max out with his write-in votes, or are some people who show up are going to just simply fill in the R because they want to be anti-D?
I think that it's very hard where he doesn't live in the district, or if he does, if he moved and is officially there today, which is what the Senate charter says that you need to do. But people will see that. And Joe's very well known. I mean, he's lived here between Lowell and Drake and Tingsboro his whole life. So I think the more well-named people will associate with that way. But I think that, if you can't vote for yourself, it's hard to ask people to vote for you.
Yeah, it's on one of our, I can't remember if it was one of our InsideLowell Facebook posts or somebody else's, somebody put a photo of the ballot on there and said, he can't vote for himself. How are we,
right.
Why is he on this ballot? There are quirky state election laws still that allow a candidate to move in, as you said, by election day.
Right.
I believe he's got his address, so if he wins, he will be able to serve. That said, there was drama February 3rd, right? At this time on February 3rd, we were all, we can't wait till they start counting the votes.
Yeah.
Is there drama today, Erin?
I think it's a tee up for September of next year, like September this year. I don't think that today there'll be any drama, but I think that, you have 7 months to get going, and we're going to have the election, we're going to have the results, and then it's campaign season. So I don't think the drama is today, but I think that, it'll be a contested race again. So you have to be ready to continuously campaign from now until September for next year. Yeah. I mean, later this year.
Let's look ahead. So the conventional wisdom is Vanna Howard, the Democratic candidate, wins rather easily. I know I've had a pretty good back and forth with somebody about who's going to actually finish second, my thinking on that. But conventional wisdom is also that Sam Meas and Joe Espinola will both run as Republicans in the September primary. I think Vanna Howard, if she wins, runs unopposed in the September primary and then has to deal with whatever comes her way in November. I had Greg Pappas on here yesterday when he wasn't busy ticking off the ladies and the lefties. He said he thinks she gets a challenge in September within the Democratic Party. Do you see it? Are you hearing a buzz out there that there are some Democrat that didn't get into the February 3rd special election is waiting for the pre-Labor Day primary in September?
I haven't really heard that. No, I think Joe will run again. But then if he runs independent or Republican, that's kind of an automatic. But I haven't heard anyone that would. That's just not the rumblings I've heard yet.
Okay. Remains to be seen. If Vanna Howard wins, and again, this may be a discussion for you guys on tonight's election night broadcast after 8:00, what's the fallout going to be in the 17th Middlesex District, the seat that Vanna Howard currently holds in the House of Representatives? Already one declared candidate, Anthony Late. Another candidate has pulled OCPF paperwork, although I am told she provided an address that is not in that district, and in the House of Representatives in Massachusetts, there is a 1-year residency requirement. So she wouldn't be qualified. Clearly there will be, that's a high profile seat, right? That's the Belvedere, downtown Lowell, South Lowell seat, little bit of Tewksbury. We're going to see names besides Anthony Lade and whoever this other candidate is.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think it'll be hotly contested. There's a lot of buzz around different names being thrown about, and I think it'll be interesting to see what names come forward. But,
What names are you hearing?
well, we heard, Cory Belanger had said on here that he was thinking about it. I don't know that I've heard that again since he kind of said that he was considering it.
My last conversation with him, he's thinking no.
Yeah,
I think he's looking at the political landscape and thinking no.
Yeah. I think, Sixto DeJesus came, like, he was out there and working hard.
I didn't even think of Sixto. South Lowell, yeah.
Right? Like, he's still in the district. So that's, like, he did very well for himself in a widely contested at-large race. So he's well-spoken. He's a good candidate. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else.
I hear the names John Leahy, who I asked on February 4th. And usually John's really good about getting back to me. I haven't heard back. So John, did you lose my number? I'd love to hear your thoughts, or maybe he's waiting till March 4th. I've heard the name John Drinkwater, which I find interesting because
two union presidents against each other.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a race, right? That might generate some good voting buzz. But I would have thought that the former counselor would have been interested in the Senate race. He came damn close to winning that seat when Ed Kennedy won it in 2018. I was told that was the seat he would want, the Senate seat, because the pay is a little bit better. It wouldn't be as big of a pay cut for him as being in the House. But I'm hearing, and it's been persistent, that watch for Drinkwater in this reason. And perhaps one of the things I was told was, well, that's why he didn't get into the Senate race, because he in turn would have the support of some of the Vanna Howard supporters for the state rep seat.
Yeah.
He'd be the big fish in the pond, wouldn't he?
I think so.
If he gets in.
But again, he's the union president. You get to influence a lot of change in that seat. He does very well with that. The union highly respects him. And then that would be an interesting race, because then you have two union presidents that are both very well spoken and very well liked. That'd be an interesting one.
I hear the name Tim Scott often. I've been trying to nudge Nancy McGovern, a downtown Lowell resident who knows Beacon Hill very well, but she too works for I think the retirees union and stuff. She would be a long shot, not a long shot if she got into the race, but a long shot in terms of saying, I'll get into this. But there are some interesting names out there.
All great names, yeah.
My hunch is they're all waiting till after tonight,
of course,
to make themselves known. Any Republicans out there? I'm not even sure I know any Republicans in the
It's not something I really
Somebody might jokingly say Dave Nangle, but he is technically a Democrat and has been. Does Tewksbury? Our friend Jo Marie Buckley keeps saying, watch out for Mark Kratman, watch out for Mark Kratman. Does somebody in Tewksbury say, you know what, let me try, hope a ton of Lowell candidates get in the race, split the vote, and I can sneak in?
Where's Jo Marie on that line? Is she in the district or just outside?
Oh, good question. I should reach out to her as soon as we're done recording. All right. I'm sure we'll have a lot more of that as we go forward. Sure. Got to talk about the 16th Middlesex District, though. Rodney Elliott. We talked about him running unsuccessfully for the state Senate thing, now announcing that he will not seek re-election. Lorena Betts has been campaigning since last September when she announced her candidacy. With Rep. Elliott out of the way, in other words, creating an open seat, we're going to see a lot more names there.
Yeah, I think that, that was a smart move on her behalf to pull papers in September and to run, because she's ran an aggressive campaign so far. And she's from North Chelmsford, just kind of from outside of the area. I think that that's incredibly smart to pull very early, because I don't want to say relatively unknown, but in Lowell, because she's from North Chelmsford.
Nobody really knew Lorena Betts beforehand, but she's showing up to a ton of Lowell events. Yeah. Now she's known.
Yeah. So, and I know that I don't agree with Greg Pappas's take that she should have pushed Rodney Elliott forward, because I think that she's much further left, and she's running the campaign that is very different. And I respect that. I got to meet her at the Winterfest. I'd never really got to kind of meet her, but I didn't really get to talk politics or anything. I had my kids and she had her kids, and it was just kind of moms and watching our kids, and they were like enthralled in the karate show, which was great. So it was.
Yeah. So she was due to be on this week, had to reschedule. She will be on next week on the Daily Pulse. We'll do our obligatory interview with all first-time candidates. So we'll learn a little bit more about her politics and about her. When the news broke about Representative Elliotte, I did reach out to the two obvious candidates, the Pawtucketville and Centerville Lowell City Councilors, Danny Rourke, Corey Robinson, both interested. I'm not sure both run, if either runs when push comes to shove. Other names I'm hearing, Ben Opara, George Procope. I threw out the name Deb Forgione yesterday. Just think, I'm trying to think. It's not as long of a list if those two city councils don't get in as, say, the 17th Middlesex district seat would be, right?
George all day.
George, so yeah,
he's wonderful. He's such a nice guy.
It's funny. Everybody has told me if George Procope gets in, he wins that race going away. I've also been told don't expect him to get in.
Yeah, I know. He does
Can
a
he be
good job
nudged into it? If we talk about it long enough, can he be nudged into it?
Just very fair across the board from what I've seen from him. So I think he'd be a great option. Yeah.
I threw out the name Danielle McFadden yesterday just for shits and giggles. I told her I did. I texted her, and she probably wanted to throw a punch back in my direction. I think she's very happy on the school committee for now. But either way, again, that's a quote unquote open seat. We should see a lot of names in it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
One would think.
Yeah.
But we should have seen a lot of names in the state Senate seat. We only saw two on the Democratic side, Elliotte and Howard. When that 16th seat was open in 2022, we should have seen a lot of names. Tom Golden was out after a long time, and we only saw Elliotte and Zoe Zaniku. So has that thing about when there's open seats, everybody gets in? Are we seeing a change? Are we seeing a seat change? It's not going to be like 2018 anymore when Ed Kennedy, Rodney Elliott, John Drinkwater, Terry Ryan, and I think one or two others were in that race.
So, well, first of all, you have to give up your full-time job. So a lot of people love their job. Why, that's a really hard shift, is that now you have to leave your full-time job. I think it genuinely has to be a calling. It has to be something that you want to do, because you're also opening up your entire life and your family. And there's a lot of keyboard warriors. Like, why would you, if you're not totally dedicated and it's not something that you want to do, you can't make everyone happy. And people like to write bad, that's hard. You have to have really thick skin, and you also have to know, if you have a family, your family's kind of open to attack too, and nobody wants that. So
you
I
have
think
to deal with people like you and others in the media.
Yeah, right.
All right. So I guess I did leave one name out intentionally. I saved it for the end. Erin Gentry. You've run a campaign, at least in the biggest voting block of the 17th Middlesex District, the Belvedere neighborhood. Would you look at it? Are you thinking about it? Have you thought about it?
I genuinely love what I'm doing right now. I love my job. I love that I have the time and availability for my kids. If they need something for school, I can go on field trips with them. I like I said, genuinely, it has to be your passion and what you want to do. I feel like I have things in the city that I want to do, and that's just it's not where I am right now.
So that's a no for right now?
For right now.
For right. So you will not get into the 17th race?
No, I will not.
Okay. There's still enough time. Just saying people might be able to push you into it. All right. All of that speculation for September and November. Right now, we're still focusing on today, March 3rd, voting day. If you are watching this before 8 o'clock on Tuesday, March 3rd, get on out there and vote, please. I promise you, no long waiting lines. And then once you do vote, if you want to see the results, well, tune in right here. InsideLowell.com or on our YouTube channel. We will have live election coverage beginning at 7:30 p.m. I'll be here with Erin Gendron. We'll be joined by Asa Stutz, our election numbers guy, who's going to drive around various polling locations, including Dunstable and Pepperell, trying to get a sense of their turnout and what the buzz, if any buzz, is out there. Former Lowell City Councilor and State Rep candidate Jim Leary will join us as well. Then at 8 o'clock, when the polls close and the results start to roll in, Asa and I will go into our into the bunker, start to bring you those numbers. Jerry Nutter and Marty Laurie will join Erin and Jim Leary as well. So again, tonight, 7:30 p.m., live special election coverage. Stream it on InsideLowell.com or our YouTube channel. Let me take a quick minute to thank all of our Inside Lowell podcast sponsors who will also help you bring tonight's election coverage. Of course, our Daily Pulse sponsor is Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser, both states as well. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint for hosting us in the WellPoint studios. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that goes the extra mile. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, TMI Cares, managing and developing their own properties for over 30 years. Experience the quality, the care, and the value of making TMI the choice for your home. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to generations of families throughout Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. And the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Thank you to all the sponsors. Thank you again, Erin Gendron. Double duty today. I'm telling you, it's either politics or punditry, or both. You can consider both at the same time. I do. Before we talk about what's going to be an interesting city council meeting tonight, and has been an interesting couple of weeks on that council. There is a little bit of news today. By the time you watch this, other people, you out there in the audience watch this, Lowell High students will have staged a walkout at 10:45 a.m. this Tuesday morning, I'm told, to protest ICE operations or whatnot. I'm going to guess this has been a while in the making because ICE is so last year in terms of political squabbles. It's now all about Iran and other things. But you just kind of your thoughts on student walkouts. Do they do anything? Do they do any of these things? I understand last night there were folks outside City Hall protesting in the freezing cold on Iran. They looked very familiar. I think I saw them protesting Gaza. I think I saw them protesting Maduro. I've seen them protesting. Do any of these make a difference, or is everybody's opinion already baked in at this point on these national hot button issues?
I think that if they do, that's great that they're being politically involved, and hopefully, these are things that shape kids' future in terms of votership and all of that. So I hope that when they get back into class, that there's some conversations about, what, you have the right to protest when you want to, because people died for your right to vote and died for your right to be able to have freedom of speech. So I do think it's important, and it's good that kids are forming opinions and taking a stand. And I hope that there's continued education around why you're able to do this, because I can remember being in high school and in even younger grades, schools were always open. It was a different time for voting day, and there were a lot of conversations about why that's important. And I can remember I can't think offhand, but we had walkouts when I was in high school too. But I think, yeah,
we were boring in Trey. We didn't walk out for anything. And it's from my cousins who went to Lowell. The only thing they walked out to was Mossy's Subs in downtown.
So I don't think
Ricky's Sandwich Shop.
It was never anything on a national level. I think student government and if policy changes that happened in school, I can remember around things like that. But after anything like that, there was always the teachers had a conversation with our class or in a school assembly. There is a reason that you have the right to do this, and I think that that's very important.
And by the way, so those school issues and maybe even local issues, last year the big thing was the cell phone policy, right? I can understand the student activism and hopefully the teachers presented both ends and let the students kind of have a legitimate debate. But when I see these walkouts in Massachusetts and now Lowell schools over national issues, I'm wondering, are the students fueling this or are the teachers fueling this? Because I know that there are students who have other views. I've talked to them. I have family members who have had kids in Lowell High, and I talk about past political actions, and they always felt like, well, I have a different view, but I don't dare speak up because I'm going to get lectured to. I'm not going to get the support of the administration or the teacher if I decide to walk out. For instance, let's use today's example, to celebrate the potential freedom of the Iranian people or Iranian women having maybe a chance to finally be free after 47 years of being second-class citizens. I wonder how many Lowell High teachers social studies teachers would support their students if they wanted to walk out to show a sign of support for this. Do you get?
I get where you're going.
I'm wondering, is the political activism in our schools, does it work both ways or does it work just one way?
Well, I hope that it does. I don't know that answer though.
I'm gonna guess no, at least in the public schools. I keep a close eye on the Hellenic and what they're doing with my kid, who, by the way, in the school election in 2024 voted for school presidential election. Told he voted for Kamala Harris. So I got to get him away from his grandparents. But anyway, that's something happening in the Lowell schools. Speaking of rancor, of political discourse that isn't always unified, the Lowell City Council. Good stuff on the agenda tonight. I want to put that aside for 30 seconds or maybe a little bit longer and talk about the senior center.
Sure.
Still, here we are. A bunch of 5-5 votes last week. Nothing, as far as we know, has progressed in terms of the senior center. Either signing a new lease, either going back into negotiations to negotiate a better contract, or filing a lawsuit. We're stuck at 5-5. But there is a motion tonight, a joint motion. Councilor Corey Robinson, Councilor Rita Mercier, to at least have the manager report on the process for hiring outside attorney, to give the city another opinion. To me, this shows that they are probably going to hire an outside attorney. Should the Lowell City Council hire another attorney to look at this matter and give them an opinion that we don't know yet what that opinion would be?
So I think that the way that this came about, if we take out all the emotion, because this is a very highly emotional thing, right? 20 years ago, it was supposed to be gifted back to the city. Something happened. It didn't get gifted back. And now we're stuck with two options that neither seem to be great options, right? And I think that the way that it was put forward, so when like I say, fear grows in silence, well, narratives run away in silence as well. And I think that the way that this was put forward, where we didn't have the minutes of the executive session to start with, and then when the counselors were given the lease and it was put out on the agenda, it was missing Exhibit A and B. So that just makes it look like it's murky when it maybe isn't, right? I feel like if this was brought forward in a different way, where it was said, 25 years ago, this is it was supposed to happen this way. We found that there's some issues with the deed and the way that it is getting turned over. If the minutes were there, if everything was like there, I don't think the narrative would have gone as far in the direction that it has. So I think that, the pendulum always swings both ways, and maybe getting an outside attorney is the way to come to the center and say, all right, like now we have an opinion that is from someone who has no ties to the city, that can shine light on this situation in a way that is helpful.
Do you think this city council would accept another opinion that says, yeah, what your solicitor told you is the best path? Do you think this city council is of a mindset to accept that if another attorney says that, or are they going to keep shopping for somebody to confirm what they have been saying since this story kind of broke open after executive session?
No, I think if it's someone who has no ties to the city, I mean, I don't know. 5-5 is kind of wild, but I would hope so. I would hope if you're asking for someone who has no ties to the city to look with a clear lens, and if they say either way, that the council would accept it.
Okay. All right. What are your thoughts? So just as a point of clarity, you serve on the Senior Center Board of Advisor? The advisory board was
Council on Aging.
The Council on Aging. Okay. What's your take on all this?
I don't think either option is great, but I also don't want the seniors to get evicted. Seniors, veterans, and children are things that are people that always need to be protected and supported. And this is 2 out of 3. So, I don't want to see them get evicted. And I think the lease that was put forward, we lose lose the use of 50 something parking spots. And it's double the cost. So like, that's not a great option. And on the other side, I don't know that litigation is the best option either, as we need the space. So
is there another alternative? I've heard people saying the city should be exploring other alternatives.
But then we need a stay. Like there needs to be an order to stay so that we don't lose the senior center for the time being. So whether that's an extended short-term lease or while the city explores what they need to, but either way, I don't think that the city can be without a senior center.
Do you trust the city to be able to A, find a location, and B, develop it and turn it into a senior center? I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on that current building. I've gone in there to vote a couple of times actually when I lived in the quote unquote acre there, but it seems like not you'd almost have to move it to a VFW type hall or something to that effect to create the large open spaces and have a kitchen and whatnot that you would need. You can't just go take over a restaurant that's been shut down in the city, can
right.
you? You need a big hall, right?
It is a difficult, because they use a big gym area for a lot of the classes. They have smaller classroom sizes. There's a giant like cafeteria style that has a kitchen. They do 7 days a week, breakfast and lunch. And that is super important for food sustainability. So it's centrally located. It's like right in the heart of the acre, which
across the street from a supermarket
right.
that everybody can walk to as well, which is a big part of it. I think it's probably the only location that legitimately works, which continues to create this conundrum. What happened, Erin? Why? The one thing I think we're all in agreement of, those of us who think the city should just take the lesser of two evils in these deals, and those who say, let's go to court because this building is ours and we can win it, and we'll teach that evil landlord a lesson. What happened here? How did a guy that has numerous business dealings with the city elsewhere, how does that person make a promise to do something 20 years ago? It was not a secret. Everybody knew it. It was publicized. Nobody denied it. It was left out of paperwork. We now have a better understanding of why it was left out of paperwork. Dick Howe Jr. in his Substack, the former Register of Deeds, says because it would be illegal to either put it in deceptively, or you wouldn't be able to get a mortgage on the property if you said you were going to. It would be difficult to get a mortgage on the property if you said you were going to turn it over to the city in a certain amount of years, because if for some reason you go into default, at auction it gets nothing. So he explained that there were legitimate reasons to not put that stuff in the deed.
But doesn't the Smith Baker have a clawback? Doesn't, if the Smith Baker Center by a certain time doesn't turn it into what it's supposed to be, like, isn't there a clawback clause for them?
Yes.
And they got a mortgage.
That's an interesting point. That is an interesting point. Well, they have to do,
because otherwise we'd owe the money to HUD, right? Or they'd have to pay the money back to HUD, because that was a building that was supposed to be used for community development. So there's a clause in theirs to say that they have to. I don't know if that got taken out, but that's the way that it was when the council voted on it.
Yeah, so they had certain timelines where they had to do something. But I wonder if that, once they own it, if it's completely out of the city's hands now at this point. whereas the senior center, they were coming back. That's a good
It'd be
point.
interesting to follow up and see if that was taken out of it when it sold or not. Yeah.
Great question. How is the Smith Baker Center, ironically the old senior center, different from the senior center thing? But how does this landlord, Nick Saris, go back on his word? What happens to make him go back on his word and now get called every name in the book? He's got the one thing I think the city is unified on is this guy is the devil, right? For doing this. What happens to make him do this? Is he really just kind of guy that I don't give a shit? I found a loophole. I knew about the loophole and now I'm cashing in on it.
I don't know, because I don't know him personally, and I was like 11 years old when all of this happened, so I can't speak to that. And from what I hear, he treats the employees at the senior center very nicely, which is good. Like, this hasn't impacted the working relationship between the people that work at the senior center and the landlord. I don't know him personally. I don't know what happened, but
is the building in good shape? I've heard some theories that he just hasn't maintained the building. There's no heat in the building. The building is in deplorable condition. And how would we do this to our seniors? That has been publicly stated. Is it?
I don't know that I wouldn't use the word deplorable at all. Okay. They're actually in my searching for things, I did find that in 2023, there was an RFP that was put out to get a full evaluation, like value assessment on the property. I haven't been able to find if it came back or not. I'm assuming that would be like a Gale report, like what we had seen for the Smith Baker. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's an RFP, so it could have been Gale's like a company, right? So
they did the Smith Baker Center.
Right. I don't know if like there was another report, but we put one out. So I mean, that information has to be out there about what condition that the building is in. I think the issues with the heat is like it's complex, and the heat is under control right now. I was just there on Friday, and it was comfortable. I took my jacket off.
They used barn doors that weren't designed to originally be used, so barn doors let a ton of cold in.
Yeah,
but that's where everybody parks, I'm told. So they have to be. It has to be ADA accessible. We have handicap parking on one side of the building and handicap parking on the other. So there's a door that's constantly opening and closing. I feel like I've been in a lot of ADA buildings. The heat isn't always the issue. So I don't know why there isn't a more simpler fix to kind of adjust that. But vestibule at the door or whatever.
Yeah.
Should be simple, you would think. It would something like that catching public criticism from the city or city officials or elected officials regarding those conditions, is that enough to tick them off and say you're accusing me of being a bad landlord? The hell, I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, we were already outside of the lease when the big heat issue came up. That we were already outside of the lease. That was in 2023, I think, or 2020, like late 2022. So I think, why wasn't this? I don't know, if you're not getting paid, why wasn't this the bigger issue then?
Were there promises to? So that's another. So let's give a little bit of history on this, because the 20-year lease, when it was supposed to be turned over to the city, expired at some point in 2001. Was it October or whatever it was?
2021.
2021. I
yeah.
apologize. We all know a 1-year extension was given on the lease. Manager at the time, Eileen Donahue, city council at the time, they had to know about it. I assume Mr. Saris knew about it, and it was ostensibly the 1-year extension was created to allow them to work out issues, which now we know are probably those issues with the deed, right? You say there's no record of this, though?
No, I said I looked, I couldn't find it. Okay. I couldn't find, I would assume, and this is just me assuming, I don't know, that if you were going to extend the lease where it's $257,000, I think was the amount of the lease, you'd need a 2/3 majority vote from the council. And I looked back at the minutes, and or the different agendas from 2020 to 2022, and I didn't see anything that would have been a vote from the manager to extend it.
And if it had gone into executive session, those meetings would have been released by this point as well, right? If there was some kind of vote in executive session.
But I also don't know. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if there was something in there that said that they could extend until it was,
An
you know,
option,
yeah.
sure, yeah.
I just, in my head thinking, well, 257,000, that would need a majority vote. This should be a record of it, but I don't know.
But the fact that that in 2021 they were talking about extending the lease to work things out means that at least as early as 2021 they were aware there was a problem here with the deed and it wasn't as simple. Did the landlord did the landlord start to balk then at turning it over and whatnot? There's a story here
But it might be one we'll never know.
and that's my fear, is we're all sitting here battling. And you know, you talked about the pendulum swinging and what the narratives were. There was a narrative early on, though, that this was cut and dried, that this, you know, guy was screwing the city, and the city was now further screwing itself by just giving him another 15 years of guaranteed payments and whatnot. Now we know that's not necessarily the case, that there's a lot of, you know, legal gray area in there as well. I do fear that we'll never know. And again, I offer the invitation, Attorney George Theodorou, Nick Saris, happy to have you come in here and give your side of the story. You are getting your balls kicked in on social media and everywhere else. If it were me, I would come out and defend myself. If there's a reason for me to defend myself, I would come out and defend myself. I wouldn't allow this to continue on social media. Does this indicate there are still negotiations going on behind the scenes, and that ultimately we're all fighting over something that's going to get worked out and probably end up being very similar to what we saw last week, that is kind of hanging in limbo?
I mean, I hope they're figuring something out, because like I said, I don't think that either of the options that were presented are best options.
All right. We'll kind of move on to some of the other issues. There is tonight's City Council meeting, an agenda item. Councilor Sean McDonough, motion to review other agreements that the city has, lease agreements, some with this very same individual, potentially others. I think that's a great idea. At this point, I would want to review all of these leases. If it hasn't, it probably should have been done in 2021 when they first became aware of this situation, to at least know what they're dealing with, right?
Sure. Yeah, so there's a few different offices that are downtown that are city, like I think it's Mass Hire, the health department, and I think there's one other. I don't know what the other one is. Maybe Central.
I think Central admin, the schools or some of the operations, they're kind of split in two different buildings.
But I thought we bought 40 Market, the Align building, to move those there regardless, right?
I thought
what was going in there?
The Department of Planning and Development was going in there, but I don't know. Is there enough room to move?
Right.
Some have suggested the senior center for 40 Market.
I know you can use the CVCD money.
It's not that kind of a building though. No, you would need a major.
Right. You need to renovate it.
They'd made it a bank before that. So that's a motion that I think is a very good motion by Councilor McDonough. Speaking of Councilor McDonough, he left Lowell High School. He left his teaching job at Lowell High School to avoid what he calls the circus. Every time he speaks about a school-related issue and whatnot. Does this make those conflict of interest ethics questions go away?
I think it quells it quite a bit. I mean, for sure. I give him all the credit in the world. It is very difficult to leave a job that you love and that you care about. I had to, in the process of adopting our kids, I left DCF and I loved my job at DCF, and I can commiserate with him that that's a very difficult thing. I know Sean will be fine. I've seen him interact with the kids that he works with, and he has a very niche position that is, he could find a job anywhere. I'm sure that he will be fine, but it is a difficult decision.
They're in high demand.
So.
Special ed teachers are in high demand. They can usually make great money. That said, he lives in downtown, so it's an easy walk to school, to work each and every day. I think it may make some of the quote unquote conflict of interest or ethics questions go away. I think it's going to bring up a lot more, because I think now he still has a spouse working at that school. There are other counselors who have a spouse, a daughter, or a brother working in the school. And I believe that now every time a school issue comes up, these four at a minimum are going to be in the same boat, going to have to be treated equally, and they're not going to get to speak on school issues. So I wonder about the school budget again. You know, budgets need what, 2/3 to be passed, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna, if 4 of your 11 counselors can't vote on certain school issues, there's a lot of issues that now, you know, maybe to put cameras on a bus won't be an issue, but money regarding cameras on the bus, money regarding specific school budgets, what to cut or whatever, what to try to give back, an extra $2 million, as was the case last year. I got a hunch you're just going to have a council that is clearly divided.
Yeah. I think it's difficult, though. I mean, I do think that some of the conflict of interest laws need to be looked at, because when you look at public servants, like, it does run in families. That is something that when these laws were created, it was a long time ago that maybe you wouldn't have seen that, but spouses do. Like, that's something that you see regularly, and these laws haven't been looked at in a very long time. But I think that I don't know. That's a hard one.
Well, welcome to my crusade, because I think that State Ethics Commission needs an enema. I think they need to update their laws for the 21st and eventually the 22nd century. I think they need to do things in writing. I think this, call, and depending on who answers the phone on the other side, you may get different rulings, and there's no proof of it. Everything should be in writing. There should be clear-cut guidelines. They're in Boston, right? The Ethics Commission. Yeah. There should be clear-cut guidelines in Boston that regardless who answers the phone, this is the law, this is how you follow it. It's not open to interpretation. And both the questions submitted to them and the responses given should be in writing to avoid any of this he said, she said, we don't trust you, which I can guarantee you is going to come.
Because you can always get it in writing, but you can't always get what you ask. Like, what you ask is not what's in writing. You get the response in writing,
which I think via email, it's in writing. Well, and that's the Ethics Commission should demand that. They should also get with the 21st century and realize that meeting minutes. I've seen the meeting minutes from the senior center, a page and a half at most. A third of the page is simply listing the names of the counselors and whatever was discussed, and then the votes. There's very little detail about what I'm sure are some very interesting conversations. Yeah. We now have the technology. We don't need that. We don't even need to hire a court stenographer to give it to you word by word. AI will gladly give you the meeting minutes from A to Z and everything else that is relevant. Is it time to do that, or are some things, Aaron, better left unknown by those of us in the media, the pundits, like you and the general public? I'm
nosy enough. I want to know everything.
Bingo. 100%. The technology is there that executive session meetings no longer need to be the purview of Michael Geary or Angela Gitcher or whoever's responsible for taking the notes in the clerk's office. Let AI do it. The clerk's office can clean up the mispronunciations or misspellings on names. And here it is. Transparent. We all want transparency. Everybody talks about it. How come nobody wants to join my crusade? At least you do. Aaron Gendron wants to join my crusade.
Give me the minutes.
Give us the minutes. Show me the minutes, not show me the money. All right. There was a motion that I found interesting last night because I've wondered this myself. Councillor Corey Robinson had asked a couple of months ago, give me a breakdown of all the money the city has spent to anybody for elections except for the poll workers, who obviously we have to pay. He wanted to know what's the city paying in elections related. He got a response about printers. The city uses 2 different printers. The city uses language translation services. He didn't get what I think he was asking.
You gotta ask the question differently.
I think the question may get re-asked in a different way.
I think Manager Golden even tried to suss that one out. Like, I think he asked, like, can you be more specific about what you're looking for with this motion? So you got what you asked for.
So let me reword it for you, Councillor Robinson, if I may, because I think this is what you were trying to get at. Which organizations, nonprofit organizations, political action groups have received money from the city to, quote unquote, get out the vote that they seem to be regressing in terms of getting out. Couple of texts, by the way, I got while we were recording this, Aaron. In Drake, our friend Jeannie Balkus, number 41 at Precinct 2 as of 10:20 a.m. Drake may be keeping pace with the daily school today. Who knows? Up at Pawtucketville Memorial, 44 people total between those two things as of 10:14 a.m. So clearly the electorate's still not engaged in that race. But which, again, underscores my point that there's groups floating around Lowell each and every day designed to get voter engagement, get the voters out, get them politically active, register them, make them aware of things. They're failing miserably. I think Councilor Robinson really wants to know what money are these groups getting, if any, from the city? Is that how you interpreted his motion a few weeks, months back?
When you say it that way, yeah. Sure.
I think that's exactly what he was getting at. My fear is that he's going to get the exact same response he got this time, that other than giving money to the printers and to the language translators, we have not given money to any organizations specifically to, quote unquote, get out the vote. And that is Lowell Votes, Lowell Alliance, or any of these groups that are, holding these rallies, these debates. But here's the fun part, though. And this is, let me see if I can get you into trouble. Come on, dive in. The water's warm. We do know the city gives an awful lot of money to organizations that do have community engagement officers and organizations that have been very, very political through the years. The CBA, Coalition for a Better Acre, CTI, Community Teamwork, the CMAA, Cambodian Mutual Assistance Organizations. These groups get money from the city. We know this. What are they spending that money on? Do they provide a breakdown to the city of how they're using the city or the state's money and how much of it goes towards get out the vote efforts? Because when I look at a group like Lowell Votes, and I believe, don't quote me on it, the Lowell Alliance, but their fiscal agent is the CBA. So whenever they're holding some type of an event, a political rally or whatever, many times you see all their logos on the same spreadsheet. So I'm going to put this out there myself. I think that taxpayer money is being used in a roundabout way by some of these nonprofit agencies, non-government organizations, NGOs as they're called. Am I just a conspiracy theorist, lunatic, or is there a little smoke here, and where there's smoke there might be some fire, Aaron?
Well, I don't know.
You don't want to dive into this one? Should taxpayer money go to these organizations if they're being involved in voting activities? It maybe under the guise of getting out the vote, but oftentimes crossing that line into voter advocacy. I know the folks from Lowell Votes were walking around pushing the millionaire's tax a few years ago, which was 100% wrong. If their mission is to get out the vote and register people to vote, that's one thing. If they're now advocating for specific issues, that's a problem.
Yeah, I think it's hard when it's just the get out the vote and we're seeing voter decline. Like, there's no real, it's human behavior. How can you, what's the threshold of like, okay, we met our objective? When it's human behavior, people aren't going to come out, they aren't going to come out. If the issue isn't big enough, then they're not going to come out. So I think in terms of like voter engagement, like how do we get that line and do like that as an evaluation? And I think Belinda Duran put on a great motion to see, like, to have a debrief about like how did we do in terms of like getting voter turnout, in terms of did people know about it. So I think nonprofits should kind of have that same type of debrief to see like which way they're going, if there are things that they could do better to get out the vote. But it is hard because it's human behavior. I think if there's if you're talking about endorsements or like trying to get the ballot questions and that type of stuff, like then be a pact.
You're a PAC. You're
right.
a political action
So
committee,
then you're a pact versus not, and then your funding comes from a different source. So it should be separate. Those two things should absolutely be separate. But I do also think we should always look at debriefing how elections go and kind of why people didn't turn out and how we could do better. PACs are important though, because they do help like people get out the vote, but they're separate. And they should be.
Well, I always wonder though, why is so much attention spent in Lowell by these organizations in terms of getting out the vote when normally, and admittedly, our turnout is deteriorating. The general trend is it's deteriorating in Lowell. But if you look at spring elections in Chelmsford and Dracut and Tewksbury and elsewhere, you're barely getting 6%. 8%, you'll be lucky to hit double digits there. So Lowell is actually topping these communities. I don't see these NGOs working to get out the vote in Dracut or Chelmsford. And I almost think that is because they act more as political action committees than genuine get out the vote people. I think they want to get out their vote, what they think would be their vote, what would benefit them. But I don't think they really care about getting out. Are they knocking on doors in your neighborhood to get out the votes in Belvedere, or are they hanging around Lower Belvedere?
Well, that depends. I mean, the only door knockers I've seen are endorsing a candidate.
The candidate, right? Yeah. The candidates whose job it is to excite
right.
people to get out and vote for them.
But no. I mean, I'm a registered voter, so don't they have a list that they're looking at of who's registered and who isn't?
Nobody from Lowell Vote ever came out and tried to make sure you guys knew that there was an election today.
No, I'm a registered voter and I vote all the time.
Oh, okay. So maybe they crossed you off their list and they hit your neighbors. All right. Two more things I want to talk about before we wrap up. There is a motion tonight on the City Council agenda about a home rule petition to consolidate administrative functions with the Lowell Public School District. Administrative functions, they've left the facilities function out of the home rule petition. There are some folks who say even that's not a good idea. There needs to be a city side entity and there needs to be a school side entity, and the two shall never meet.
Well, I watched the joint facilities meeting, and that went fairly well. I mean, it seemed like the school committee was open to working with the city council to they need to meet again. Like that was kind of the end of it, but it seemed like they're willing to work together, which is good. I don't know that. I mean, we'll see how the vote goes for the home rule petition, because I feel like they were making good headway.
They were, but there were sticking points that the whole potential
right.
discussion of privatization of facilities, custodial,
which I don't think the intention was privatization. I don't think that was ever an intention. I know that was written into the home rule, but I think that was not the intention. I know that Chelmsford is a different animal. Privatization has worked out there. There's much less schools. I don't think that was the intention of the city council when this was brought forward to go with privatization.
Should it be on the table at least? Should it be looked at?
I mean, I'm not for privatization, but
okay. So clearly, the Paul George is the outgoing head of the United Teachers of Lowell, who is also the union representing Lowell school custodians, doesn't think so. Clearly, many of the councilors don't think so. They tried to pass at that subcommittee thing to give a recommendation to the council that nobody lose a job if the city does any of this, which brought some pushback about whether that's even allowed. Mayor Gitchier was one of the ones who mentioned that, and I don't think he's a big fan of privatization, but even he said we got to be careful because that may not be our purview. But then the guy responsible for the condition of the schools, Ricky Underwood, got up and said something as they were trying to take privatization off the table and any kind of serious changes to custodian oversight and responsibilities and school maintenance, yada, yada. Quote, our school system, the way it runs, is unsustainable. The guy responsible for the upkeep of your schools, who's getting hammered because the schools are not up to par according to certain people, is telling you, I think you need to look at everything. Don't take any options off the table because the way it's working now is unsustainable. I took that, I haven't spoken to Ricky Underwood, but I will try. I took that to say don't take any options off the table because you're going to have a major problem. How do you take a statement like that? Do the Lowell schools and the way those buildings and facilities are maintained, do they need a major change instead of some nip tuck, yeah, we'll have the same chief financial officer, write the checks or whatever?
I mean, I think you need to look at everything. I took that more because right now some of the skilled laborers are what's contracted, that we don't have those within the city. I took that as just looking at that, like we contract out for those things and that maybe we wouldn't be able to bring them on. I didn't really look at that as continue to look at privatization, but that was just the way I saw it.
Okay. You could be right. I could be wrong. Lord knows I've been wrong before. But I kind of took that as a guy who may be frustrated
he was very
at
frustrated,
getting his what's kicked in over, being the Mr. Saris of the school facilities and saying, listen, I'm working with what you gave me and I'm telling you, this can't keep happening. Don't take anything off the table. That's how I took it. So we shall see. To be continued.
Well, I come here to disagree with you, so it's good.
Good. I like good. We need more pushback. Definitely. All right. Erin Gendron, thank you for joining us on today's Daily Pulse. You'll be back for some election coverage tonight. Looking forward to that. It's a fun night. It's the Super Bowl. Election day is the Super Bowl. And here in Massachusetts, we get them constantly. So looking forward to it. Thanks again for being here today. Thanks to you for tuning in as well to the Daily Pulse on this Tuesday, March 3rd. Again, it's election day. So if you're watching this before 8 p.m. on Tuesday, March 3rd, get out and vote, please. And then, of course, tune in at 7:30 p.m. to stream our live election night coverage on InsideLowell.com or on our YouTube channel. We'll have a little recap of the day's festivities from 7:30 to 8, and then at 8 p.m. when the numbers roll in, we will bring them to you on our handy-dandy spreadsheet, and you can see the results, and hopefully we'll be able to make a projection for you before too long. So again, that's at 7:30 tonight. Tune in, InsideLowell.com or our YouTube channel. As I mentioned, tomorrow, Real Estate Ray Booten will join us, along with former Lowell Mayor Bill Samaras. A little real estate recap, a little political recap. On Thursday, the sheriff will be here, not to take me away, but to talk to me. Middlesex County Sheriff Peter Katusian will join us. And on Friday, we go live 10 a.m. with the Pod Squad. And hopefully I won't screw up the live feed and it'll go uninterrupted, beginning at actually 10 a.m. Till then, everybody, stay safe, stay warm, careful driving out there in the snow and sleet and whatever's coming. Please vote. We'll see you on the other side.